So hello, good morning to all the participants. Mr. Sir is here. Sir, with your permission, shall we start?
Yeah, good morning to all of you.
Sorry, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Morning, sir.
Let me ask one thing to you. First, within 2 to 3 minutes, you just give one brief idea about the participant. What is their background? Where from they are? Just in 2 minutes.
Okay. So, sir, we will do one thing. The first 5 minutes will allow the speaker means unmute so that participants can join and talk to you directly.
Okay, no, because one by one, if every participant will talk, then it will take time. So you tell, as a coordinator, you tell what is the overall background.
Most of the participants are from social science background, and
Yeah.
I think 70% participants are commerce and management background. They are doing Ph.D. or MPhil in commerce and management, and a few are from technical background, BTech and MTech they have completed, and again few are from history and political science background, sir.
Yeah.
But most of the participants from commerce, management, social science, scholars, faculties.
Yeah, all are almost PhD scholars and or teachers.
Almost more than means more than 75% are PhD scholars or MPhil scholars.
Okay, okay. Rest are teachers.
Yes, sir, teachers. Yes, sir.
No PG students are available.
No, sir. No PG students are available.
Okay, so because accordingly I have to give my lecture, so that's why I asked.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No PG students are there. All are scholars and faculty members.
Okay, so shall I start now?
Yes, sir. Sir, just me tell you, sir. 1 minute.
Okay.
Hello, participants. Good morning. Welcome to the third day of the online certificate program on advanced research methodology and data analysis. Today, the topic is instruments and data analysis tools. Again, for the second day, we have with us Dr. Umashankar Mishra from Rajasthan Central University. Yesterday, we had a beautiful session, deliberation by Dr. Mishra, and today we want to continue with Sir. I would like to request Sir, welcome to the third day of our online certificate program. Now we can start, sir. Please, sir, over to you.
Okay, okay. Thank you. So good morning to all participants. Just I came to know most of the participants are either doing PhD or MPhil or they are in teaching profession.
Sure.
So that's why it will be easier for me to deliver some lecture session. Okay. And yes, Somasri Mahanti is a PG student.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway,
sir.
So taking care of all the participants' background, I will deliver. Don't worry. So because always in my teaching career, always I deliver from the scratch. So because most of the people they might be knowing some of the aspects of different analysis or all other things. That doesn't mean I will not cover all these things for other participants. So I have to start from scratch. So it's good that most of the participants, if you know that trick, if you know the something about those analysis, so
sorry
please bear with me.
Sorry to disturb you. Your video is not visible.
Okay, okay, just a minute. Now visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So today our session is all about your instrument design and data analysis. And in fact, it's very difficult to tell about data analysis online now without showing any slide or without showing any software. Because within 2 hours, if I will show the slides and software, so definitely we may not cover most of the important aspects. So that's only just like yesterday, we'll adopt the same lecture method of my own because I never use any slide or whatever. But it would have been better if I would have shown the softwares like SPSS or any other normal software, standard software, MS Excel or whatever, almost package. So whatever may be the software package, because nowadays day by day, every day, new statistical software is being launched. So that's it. Don't worry about the new software because people are running after the new software like your so many your machine learning and artificial intelligence software like your R analytics, Python or whatever. But those softwares are for specific research purpose, for specific modeling purpose. So don't worry about those software if you don't know the ABCD of those software. So there is nothing to be worried about this. So, but little bit idea should be there. The first fundamental clarity about the software will come if you are thorough about the MS Excel. Because if you are acquainted, if you know everything about MS Excel in macro programming and the solver, add-on solver in MS Excel, then maximum things you can understand if you access other software also, because all other statistical softwares are almost extracted from the concept of MS Excel. So that's a here. I generally use the software for data analysis of my research work, SPSS software package, and SPSS added with AMOS software, because AMOS software is for structural equation model, and now different versions of AMOS have come, and the PLS software have also come of AMOS. So that's it. Whatever may be the changing nature of version or dynamism of software, that should not be a matter of discussion, but the fundamental clarity, how to use, that is not important, but why to use the technique, that is more important. Because if you know the logic behind this application of the techniques, or logic behind the application of any data analysis tools, that is important. Because the rest of the things, even DTP operator nowadays, those who are dealing with your typing or Ph.D. thesis or FL thesis, even they are more acquainted in operating the software. So how to operate the software, that is not important, but why you have to apply this technique, and where you have to apply this technique, for what purpose, for what outcome, and how to interpret the outcome of the statistical analysis, that is more important for the researcher. And today, first of all, as assigned to me, the topic is instrument design and data analysis. In social science, particularly the instrument means your survey instrument, and that survey instrument basically we are dealing with the questionnaire survey. Okay. So many other instruments you might be using, like your psychogalvanometer or CCTV camera or any other technical instrument you might be using to collect the data through observational method. But in survey method, in experimental method also, you may use some instruments, some technical instrument. But generally, in a survey-based method of your data collection, you are using the questionnaire as the instrument. Okay. Unlike your, suppose in case of pure science or natural science, they are using some instruments in different laboratory setup. Like suppose in chemistry laboratory, they are using instrument like your burette, pipette, Bunsen burner, all these things. In physics laboratory, they are using also some circuit diagram, circuit, electrical circuit, or simple pendulum, screw gauge, all these things. If you have the background of science in 12, you might be knowing these are the instruments you are using in physics laboratory or chemistry laboratory. But unlike your natural science, here instrument means our only one instrument in survey-based method of data collection, that is a questionnaire. And construction of questionnaire is more important, and choosing of items in the questionnaire and the content of the questionnaire, finalization of content of the questionnaire, that is also very important, because if the instrument is erratic, then definitely data will be erratic. Okay. Am I audible? Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
But in chatting message, somebody yes.
Voice is not clear. But audible, sir, clearly audible, sir.
Okay, if for maximum I am audible, then definitely that is a specific problem. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyway, so that's whenever you are thinking about the instrument design, definitely few things you have to consider. That means what are the content of the questionnaire, and what are the sequence of the questions of the questionnaire, and what should be the format of asking question. Okay, that means what type of scale you will be using in designing the questionnaire or instrument, And the most important thing, whether the questionnaire or the instrument is valid and reliable or not. That means before implementing or before administering in your the questionnaire, or before administering the survey instrument for data collection purpose, you must make sure that your reliability and validity of the survey instrument must be accurate. Okay, that is, the reliability and validity should be significant so that we can go ahead for data collection. But while you are testing the reliability and validity, definitely some data you have to collect to test the reliability and validity. But those data should not be used for final analysis, because those data are for testing purpose. Those data you are collecting in pilot survey for only confirming whether your questionnaire is perfect or not, whether your survey instrument is reliable and valid or not. Okay, like in cricket match, you might be knowing in our local areas or local colonies, whenever we are playing cricket, initially the batsman is asking for bowler for a trial ball. But the trial ball, the score the batsman will do for the trial ball, that is not considered for final score in the original score. So that's this questionnaire testing. While you are pre-testing the questionnaire, the data whatever you will collect for this pre-testing purpose, that is not a part of the final analysis. That is only for confirmation about the validity and reliability of the questionnaire. Okay. Now, thing is that what is the meaning of this reliability and validity? Reliability and validity, probably I have discussed yesterday. Reliability is the consistency nature of your data, and validity is nothing but your how precise your data, that means how far your data is accurate or accuracy level. Okay. So sometimes what happens, if you ask some wrong question, the answer may be right to that question, but that answer is not fitting to achieve the objective of your research work. So that means that question is invalid question for your research purpose. So that's that question item should be removed from your final questionnaire to improve the validity of your research work. Okay. Sometimes what happens, if you ask some irrelevant question, that question, if you go through the question, that question looks like good, that question sounds good, but that question may not have some relevance or may not have some significant relation to achieve your objective. So what for will ask that question unnecessarily, wastage of time, and out of these questions, respondents may be irritated, and respondents may laugh at the researcher that what for this researcher is doing research because his objective is something and is asking some other thing. That says this type of things should be considered while you are designing the questionnaire, whether the questionnaire is really relevant for your purpose of the study or not. And again, sometimes while you are constructing the questionnaire, the sequence matters a lot. That means first what type of question you have to ask, then in middle portion what type of question you have to ask, in the last portion what type of question you have to ask. Okay, so that's here in that case. The questionnaire construction or the sequence of the questions or the branching question, suppose some question may have some relationship with another question, it has some branches to other questions. So all these type of things should be considered while you are designing your questionnaire. Okay. Generally, what we are doing, when you are constructing the questionnaire, initially you are asking the demographic related questions. That is like your age, income, occupation, location, then your family status, lifestyle status, everything. Okay. But in my point of view, this question should be asked in last question. If you are not, suppose in your research, suppose the objective is not directly related to your demographics, only for certain descriptive analysis purpose you have asked for these demographic questions. So definitely, since that is not the master objective of the research work, so let them give the response to this demographic related item in the last. Why I am saying you have to ask in the last? Because if they have to fill up the response to the questions you have asked related to demographics, it may take a minimum 10 to 15 minutes time. And if the respondent have no time, suppose the respondent has given only 30 minutes time or 20 minutes time to fill up the questionnaire, and out of 20 minutes, if the respondents will fill up the demographic related question of 15 minutes. So rest 5 minutes only left for the responding other important questions. So that's here you have to ask some relevant question first, then some of the branching questions, some of the, I'm not saying demo type questions are not relevant, but that is less relevant in comparison to other master courses. So that's in that way you have to maintain your sequence of the questions, so that maximum to maximum how the data will be collected in less time, and that too the valid data you have to collect. That is the matter of responsibility of the researcher. Okay, and some questions cannot be answered. Suppose that means that respondent cannot answer that question because that respondent is not the appropriate or suitable respondent to respond your questions. So if that respondent is not suitable respondent to ask to answer this question or to respond this question, then definitely why you are asking that question to that respondent. So better you divide the respondents group wise, then accordingly you design different types of questionnaire having some common question and different types of questionnaire, and then you administer the questionnaire on this. Okay, and again some questions are quite confusing. That means lots of ambiguity will be there, and some of the questions are double barreled in nature. That means in one sentence you are asking 2 to 3 questions. Okay, in one sentence. That means if you are asking 2 to 3 questions in one sentence, then respondent will respond which question of that sentence. Okay, because you have suppose it is a closed-ended question and it has having some options. It is having some options like 4 to 3 options, just like your MCQ, multiple choice. And if he has to fill up, if he has to put a tick mark in one option, then that that response is the answer of which sub question of that sentence. Okay, so that is a matter of that is a matter of confusion for respondents. So that's why, if possible, as far as possible, try to avoid the double barrel questions. And while you are designing some questionnaire, the format of maximum questionnaire items are in accordance with some measurement scales. Okay, measurement scale, because this instrument, the survey instrument of the questionnaire, is nothing but a measurement instrument. That means why it is called a measurement instrument? Because you are measuring the response related to your study variables. Because already yesterday I told that if any concept cannot be measured, that is not called as a variable. That is only concept. Okay. So that's any concept out of a literature review. We have drawn so many concepts related to your theme of your research work, and all the theme of the research work, conceptual theme, should be transferred to the variables if it is verified that it can be measured. Okay. So that's here, if nothing can be measured, if certain item cannot be measured, then there is no chance to include in that questionnaire. Some concept may be verified without actual measurement through grounded theory approach, through qualitative research approach only. That means just by open discussion, just by focus group interview, you can have some idea only. You cannot accurately measure in a quantitative manner. Okay. So that's if you are doing empirical study, that means your empirical study in the with respect to quantitative research work, so definitely all the variables should be measurable. Okay. So that's here, what is measurement scale? In research methodology subject, you might have heard this term frequently, that measurement scale and testing. Okay. Not only you have to understand the measurement scale components, but how to test the measurement scale. Test means how to test the validity and reliability of measurement scale, so that during the evaluation of measurement scale, you can finalize, yes, my measurement scale is perfect. Okay. Generally, measurement means measurement scale consists of two words. One is your measurement, another is scale. So measurement scale is nothing but measurement means you have to assign some number for the attribute of one variable. For the attribute of an object, not variable, for the attribute of an object. Suppose, for example, you have to measure the length of a bench. So here, bench is the object, and length is the attribute of the object. Okay. So that's you are not measuring, you are not assigning the number for bench, you are assigning the number for length of the bench. So similarly, whenever you are asking some question through questionnaire to the respondents, you are asking some question related to the attributes of your study variables. You are not asking give some score for the entire study variables, attributes of some study variables. Okay. So each attribute of one master study variable is called as item. Generally in research, this term we are using, that is called as an item, research item. So each of the research items are called as your one of the attribute of one master variable. Master variable means of one construct or of one dimension, or indirectly you can tell it is called as a latent variable. So what is latent variable? Latent variables are not visible. Directly nobody can measure nobody can assign the actual score for latent variable. We can realize, we can internalize the presence of that variable, but directly measurement is not possible, because in order to measure that variable, we have to add so many similar type of attributes under that. Suppose, for example, bench. Bench has different attributes. Bench has not only one dimension length. Bench has another dimension breadth. Bench has another dimension height. Bench has another dimension look. Bench has another dimension the color. So these are the attributes of the object that is bench. So if you collect the scores of each and every attributes of the object that is bench, then you can completely define the bench will look like this according to the perception of your respondents. So that says the entire variable can be internalized. The entire latent variable can be thoroughly linked with other variables for further analysis. If all the attributes that to valid attributes, because the length, breadth, and height of the bench, these are all the valid attributes. Suppose I can tell, suppose what is the volume of the bench. Although volume of the bench is just one type of a possible thing to be asked, because volume of the bench can be measured, no doubt. But that is not valid question to be asked, because what for you have asked volume for bench? Because we are going to define bench as a whole to internalize, to visualize that object in our mindset. So volume of the bench, we are not doing any scientific research, any hardcore scientist. I am not a natural scientist that I have to ask the volume for bench, then ingredients of the bench, then chemical composition of the bench. That is not the requirement of my analysis, because I have asked for the attributes, normal attributes, generalized attributes like your length, height, or breadth, only to visualize the bench, how the bench will look like. If that is my purpose, if that will solve my research problem, what for I will ask the chemical composition of the wood used in the bench. So that say here, in that case, whenever you are internalizing, whenever you are defining or you are conceptualizing one variable, latent variable, or latent variable can otherwise be called as a construct. Already I have discussed yesterday, construct is nothing but a set of interrelated concepts, and all the interrelated concepts, all the concepts coming under construct should be should have some ability to be measured. Okay, so that's a whenever you are assigning some numbers, maybe 1, 2, 3, or any decimal numbers or fraction number, any number. Okay, whenever you are assigning any number to the attributes of an object, that process will be called as a measurement. Okay. Now another term we are using, that is scale. So what is that scale? You might have we are almost all of us are acquainted of using the scale during our school age, or right now also we are using the scale. Okay, measurement scale. That scale, if it is a smaller size scale having 15 centimeter length, or equivalent length is 6 inch, then that is scale. That is the standardized scale generally everybody is using. Okay, and in that case, for me the length of the scale is 15 centimeter. For you also length is 15 centimeter. All over world, if they are using the same type of instrument, their length is also 15 centimeter. Okay. And for me, 15 centimeter is equivalent to 6 inch. For you also it is equivalent to 6 inch. For others also it is equivalent to 6 inch. For me, 1 kilometer is 1000 meter. For you also 1 kilometer is 1000 meter, because that is quite standardized. So scale is a continuum of number which is quite standardized based upon predefined rules or predefined norms. Because we have some norms, we have some rules, we have some conversion formula, and that is highly standardized, and that standardized formula you are implementing in an instrument having some number continuum 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 15. So if that continuum will carry some numbers in a sequential order, and that sequential order is on the basis of some predefined standardized rule, then that instrument will be called as a scale. Okay. So that's it. If you are using that scale is instrument If you are using that scale, then assignment of number for the attributes of object will be easier for you. That means if you are using scale to measure the attribute of the object, that will be easier for you. Because suppose, for example, there will be no scale like 15 centimeter scale or 30 centimeter scale. Just by using one thread or by using one stick, we have to measure. But that will be giving very erratic data for different contests in different respondents. Okay, because it has no numbers, it has no continuum, it has no standardized norm. Okay, just like we are using we are using the length of certain object by using our hand or using our palm. So all these things, for me, hand is little bit longer, for you, hand is little bit shorter. So it is not standardized. So that's why whenever you are using some instrument for assigning some number for the attributes of object, that means for measurement purpose, then definitely that measurement scale has to be standardized. Okay. So in the same logic, while you are using survey instrument, because you are saying your questionnaire is called as a survey instrument. So that survey instrument must be standardized. It must standardized means the outcome must be valid outcome and the reliability score must be acceptable reliability score, and the outcome of the questionnaire must be highly generalizable. Okay, that means if you are using the questionnaire, what type of response you are getting in this time, almost same type of, almost same, I am not saying exactly 100% same, because it is a social science research instrument, it is not actual pure natural science instrument. So that's a, but maximum data should be common. Maximum data should show the internal consistency level or reliability level in pilot survey. So right now, today you have collected data, and tomorrow you will collect the data by using the same questionnaire. We should not expect there is a huge difference among the response. Okay, little bit variations are allowed, because most of the data in survey-based data, most of the data are highly skewed data and highly dispersed data, no doubt. But that doesn't mean the level of dispersion or the level of skewness will be more than our acceptance zone. Okay. So if the dispersion level or skewness level or ketosis level will be more than our accepted zone, that data should be deleted. That data should not be considered for final interpretation of your data analysis, for final interpretation of solving your research problem. So that sorry. So the data, suppose out of total collected data, suppose from 100 respondents you have collected 100 set of data. Out of 100 set of data, suppose 20 sets of data you found that is totally different from rest 80 sets of data. So that 20 sets of data are called as outliers. That means those outliers are not matching with the rest of the data, and the rest of data are almost 80% of the total. So 80% people are saying one thing, only 20% people are saying different things. So in order to generalize the outcome, we should not include this 20%. Suppose, for example, in regular MBA program, in one institute of MBA institute, regular MBA program, if dean or principal will ask the class teacher when he will teach the first class of the new session, new academic session, if the dean will ask the teacher that I have taken the first class of new academic session, tell me what will be the around average age of this class, average age of the students. So definitely he will tell average is around 21 years, because after graduation they have taken admission the regular MBA program, so around 21 years. That is his guesswork. That is he has not really collected data from admission register. That is just his hypothesis. He's just looking at the face, looking at the looks of the students. He is guessing that probably it is in between 22, 22, 23 years or 21 years, like this. Okay. But whether his hypothesis is right or wrong, in order to verify, suppose suddenly the dean will enter the class, and in first instance, dean will see two such students, and he will ask, "How old are you?" And they will tell, "We are 40 years old." So 40 years old, but he will correlate. I had asked the teacher that average age he had told 21 years, But here these two people are saying 40 years old, so almost double. That means it is totally different, highly dispersed data from the hypothetical concept. But that doesn't mean all other students are having age of 40 years. Maximum people are having age in between 20 to 23 years. Only 5 to 6 students are having age 40 years. So in order to conclude, in order to generalize the thing, we should not consider the age of these 40 years. That means these 5 to 6 students should be deleted from your final analysis because their age is not coming with your accepted level. So that's it, those data should be called as your outlier data, and those outlier data should be removed. Okay, and in graphical analysis, it can be easily captured what type of data are outliers. So those outliers can be removed. And in descriptive analysis, we might be knowing one type of graph that is your box plot. Okay, so in box plot, maximum range it will automatically give, that is your accepted range, and it considers the median value of the total data as the middlemost value, and all other data will be compared to the median, and some of the data are totally out of the box, and those total data who are out of the box, there is an option in spaces. If you click that option, that automatically outlier you remove, then finally that software will automatically remove the outliers and will give the new database deleting all these outliers, so that the consistency level or reliability level of the final analysis will be improved. Okay, so that's it. That is just one traditional process of because in data filtration work is mostly traditional process, because if statistically and technically if you filter the data, that will give less accuracy than traditional process of data filtration. In the beginning phase, first you apply the traditional process of data filtration by applying your own intuition. Then for final policing purpose, you can apply some statistical techniques, or you take the help of software for policing the final level of validity and reliability. But for enter raw data, whatever you have collected from the field, for enter raw data without editing, without coding, without any normality test, it directly will implement some statistical tool for validity test or reliability test. Obviously, you will may not achieve the required level of validity or reliability what you are searching. Okay. So that's yesterday I have told if you are by applying your determination of sample size formula, if you have fixed your sample size should be in between 180 to 200, then minimum you have to collect 400 data or 500 data, so that 50% data in the due course may be filtered out as the outliers. Possibility are there. So that's here finally, after filtering out all the outliers of 50% of total survey data, remaining data are highly reliable data and valid data to be considered for final analysis. And whenever you will create one model out of that, the model will be the best fitted model, and model will be the best representation of the reality. If you will discard the outliers, because outliers are only for short-term purpose. Outliers are only because of bias. Outliers are coming because of some specific problem for specific respondent. It is not highly generalized. But our objective to get the outcome or to get the contribution of our research work, which should be generalized. That is not specialized to some particular group of person, or that is should not be specific to particular area. It should be generalized. Okay. If your research outcome cannot be generalized, then how theory can be built? If theory cannot be built upon our recommendation, upon our model, recommended model, then definitely there will be no meaning of doing research. If there will be no social impact, if there will be no perfect representation of reality in generalized manner. Okay. Special treatment can be given for specific application, or exceptional cases should be treated separately, but not in normal fundamental research work or generalized research work. Okay. Suppose case study, case-based research are some specific research that is specific to that company. In that case, you may not generalize. Suppose some research outcome is only some particular industry specific or particular company specific, not in generalized theory basis. So in that case, special treatment may be there. You may not discard the outliers, because all the data are having some equal weightage, some importance in different aspects. But whenever you are doing one research on a generalized topic and for the applicable for generalized society, then definitely this type of filtration work is necessary. Okay. So that's here I discussed about the fundamental concepts of measurement scale. Now there are different levels, primary levels of measurement scale. All of you might be knowing there are 4 basic primary levels of measurement scale. One is your nominal scale, then ordinal scale, then interval scale, and ratio scale. Okay. So any research item means one item. Item means I have already told that is the attribute of an object. And attribute of an object here in a survey-based research means object is nothing but a study variable. So what is the attribute of that object? That attribute is nothing but the item of that variable. Okay. So that's whether the item you have asked in survey estimate are measurable in nominal scale form or ordinal scale form or interval scale form or ratio scale form. If you have asked the question in the format of nominal scale or ordinal scale form, then that type of items are called your non-metric items, non-metric scale. Okay, non-metric scale items. Okay. But if you have asked the items in the format of interval scale or ratio scale form, then those type of items are called your metric scale items. Okay. So non-metric scale means it has been measured either by nominal scale or by ordinal scale. Metric scale of items means it is measured either by interval scale or ratio scale. Okay. So in SPS software, while you are specifying the variables before data entry, in the last column of variable specification screen, you might have gone through measurement scale. And if you click that measurement scale menu, there will be 3 options will be there. One is your nominal scale and the ordinal scale. Another option is only scale. That only scale includes both interval scale as well as the ratio scale. Okay. Now, what is this nominal scale, ordinal scale, interval scale, and ratio scale? Nominal scale is nothing but if certain item is being measured in terms of categorical variable. Categorical variable means only to categorize the object. That attribute we are asking only for categorizing the object. Suppose my motto is to categorize the respondents according to gender. So gender is my study variable. Okay. And that study variable is having 2 possible outcomes. One is male, another is female. So I have to put a tick mark either in male or in female. So if I have give the option, the code number 1 for male and 0 for female, and technically numerically we know 1 is greater than 0, that does not mean male are greater than female. So that type of numerical interpretation cannot be embedded in the final data collected if it is measured by nominal scale, because these 1 and 0 you have given the coding only for categorizing the gender. Okay, whether it is male gender category and this is female gender category. Okay, so most of the demographic questions like your income group, location, age group, occupation, then education profile, these are all items which you are asking on the in the form of nominal scale, because these are only categorization of the respondents in with respect to different variables, maybe income variable, maybe location variable, whatever. Okay. But in addition to demographics, certain questions you might have asked related to your research team, having some multiple choice options, and their multiple choice options are also in the form of nominal scale. Okay. So suppose yes no category, suppose dichotomous questions. If it is having 2 type of option, yes no, like dislike, interested not interested. Okay, so this type of item if you are asking, that is also nominal scale. But ordinal scale, in ordinal scale the response are having some particular sequence. That means it has some particular order. Okay, suppose you have asked some research item to rank the following 5 brands or 10 brands of the product. Suppose you have given the option of 10 brands of product and you are asking to the respondents, give your ranking score for each of the 10 brands, and rank 1 is the best and rank 10 is the least brand. So based upon your perception, based upon your preference level, you have to rank. And whenever you are assigning some rank score 1 to 10, then definitely it has some order. Rank 1 means it is the best one, rank 2 means the second best, rank 3 means the third best, and so on. So that's a here not only you are not only categorizing the brand, but you are also giving some score, having some preference order. But in case of male female type, there is no such order. Whether male is better than female or female is better than male, that is not applicable in gender. But here, in order to choose the brand preference by assigning some rank score, it has some order or sequence. So since it is having some particular order or some sequence, that's why this type of measurement scale is called ordinal scale. Okay. So like already I have always give this example. Suppose the sports person, those who are wearing some jersey, in the backside of that jersey, they are writing some number. Suppose Sachin Tendulkar number is 10 in his jersey while he is going to bat the cricket field. That number is 10. That doesn't mean is the 10th batsman. Okay. So 10 he has chosen as the lucky number. So that's why he is using that 10. That means he is categorizing himself as 10 number. Okay. So that's it. That assignment of number is nominal scale. And that is not in ordinal scale because he is not the 10th order batsman, or he is not the 10th player in the entire team. Okay. So that says sometimes the number whatever you are assigning, first you should be sure whether that is only for identification purpose, for categorization purpose, or it has some value in ordering. If it has some value in ordering or preference level, then that is ordinal scale. If it has no value in ordering or sequencing, that is simply the number, then that is definitely one nominal scale of measurement. Okay. The next one is your interval scale. This nominal and ordinal scale combined called as your non-metric scale. Now come to the metric scale of measurement, that is for the interval scale. In interval scale, definitely the order of the numbers should be in a continuum form. Okay, that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In this way, you have to assign the number. Or -2, -1, 0, +1, +2, +3. In that order also you have to assign the number. And the best example is suppose the wall clock. The wall clock starts from 1, then ends at 12. Okay, so it has one ascending order, one particular order of arrangement of numbers. So that's why it is called as a one continuum. Or even thermometer, that is also one continuum. Okay, but why it is called as an interval scale? It is called as interval scale because the gap between two consecutive number in this type of scale is always equal. The gap between 1 and 2 in wall clock is 1 hour. That is also equal to the gap between 2 and 3. That is also 1 hour. That is also equal to 3 and 4. That is also 1 hour. And it will continue up to 11 to 12 and 12 to 1. Okay. So that say if the gap between two consecutive number in a particular continuum is equal, it is maintained in a constant approach, then definitely that type of scale is called the interval scale. Okay. But suppose in the previous example when I asked give your rank score for following 10 brands, there is no guarantee the preference gap between rank 1 product and rank 2 product is equal to the preference gap between rank 2 product and rank 3 product. Suppose the gap between rank 2 and 3 may be little bit lesser in comparison to the gap between rank 1 product and rank 2 product. So that say it is not necessarily the gap between two consecutive number will be equal in ordinal scale. But if the gap between two consecutive number will be equal, that is called the interval scale of measurement. And in our social science, generally we are using Likert scale in our survey estimate, 5-point Likert scale or 7-point Likert scale or 9-point Likert scale. And that Likert scale starts from 1 to 7 or 1 to 5 like this. So the gap between 1 to 2 is equal to the 2 and 3 is equal to the 3 and 4 is equal to the 4 and 5. Okay. So that's say suppose 5 stands for highly satisfied, 1 stands for highly dissatisfied, and 3 stands for neither satisfied nor dissatisfied, 2 stands for only dissatisfied, and 4 stands for only satisfied. So the gap between the attitude of the gap between the two numbers is equal so far the attitude or the preference level of the respondents concerned. Okay. So that say here sometimes interval scale can also be treated as ordinal scale because it is also in a particular order. Although the gap is same, it is also available in particular order. But why it is being treated as interval scale? If the number of your numbers, the points, suppose 7-point Likert scale is more continuous in comparison to 5-point Likert scale. 9-point Likert scale is more continuous in comparison to 5-point Likert scale. So that say if the interval scale will be more continuous, that means it will cover maximum attitude options, then that will be treated as the interval scale. Okay. If it will contain some less number of items, less number of options to put tick mark, then somehow it can be treated as an ordinal scale. But in our case, in social science research, although you are using hyperlinear scale, we are also treating it as continuous scale and interval scale. Okay, so that's say here. But there is a problem in interval scale. Suppose come back to the same example of wall clock. In our home, we are using the clock in 12-hour format, but in railway they are using 24-hour format. Okay, so our interval scale is 12-point Likert scale type, but their interval scale is 24-point Likert scale type. Okay, but the purpose is same, objective is same, both are measuring time, same time, both are measuring same attribute of same object. If same attribute of same object are being measured, then what there are two different formats of the scale? It will be confusion for the researchers. Okay. Again, suppose you are going to measure the temperature of one object. Temperature can be measured by centigrade scale or by Kelvin scale. But temperature is not being increased or decreased. Temperature as it is, whatever it is there. Okay. But same attribute of same object, you are measuring by different approach by using different versions of Likert scale. Okay, so that said, interval scale has why this type of problem being happen, because all this type of Likert scale or interval scale have no fixed point to start. Okay, suppose in 12-hour format the fixed point, starting fixed point is 1 and ending point is 12. In 12-hour 24-hour point, the starting fixed point is 1 and ending point is 24. Okay. In centigrade scale, starting point is positive. In Kelvin scale, starting point is negative. Okay. So that say here, if the starting point is not fixed, that is varying from person to person, point contest to contest, then it will be quite confused to measure accurately and draw some conclusion. Okay. So in order to avoid that type of problem, the new type of scale, new type of approach emerged, that is for the ratio scale. Okay. So ratio scale is the superset of all other type of levels of measurement scale. Okay, and ratio scale starting point is fixed at 0. In case of ratio scale, the starting point is fixed at 0. Suppose, for example, if I will ask to the respondent, how old are you? Suppose he is a regular student and his admission register tells he is 20 years old. And when I will ask to the same student, how old are you? He may not answer, I am 20 years old. He may answer, I am 40 years old. If he will answer, I am 40 years old, then people may laugh at him that he is looking like 20 years old. His admission register says he is 20 years old today. But what for he is saying he is 40 years old? He may tell, sir, I am right because I have counted my age starting from 20. If starting point is 20, so obviously he is 40 years old. But generally, whenever we are saying our age or our income or our height, we are not saying by deviating starting point from 0. Our starting point should be 0. Whenever we are celebrating the first birthday of our kids, we are lighting one candle. Then definitely after completion of 1 year, we are giving number 1 year. Then after completion of another 1 year, we are giving 2 numbers. That means we started counting his age from 0 to 1, then from 1 to 2, then from 2 to 3. So we have not counted his age from -2 or from 20 or from 15. Same thing can happen for height, for income, all these things. So that says most of the attributes of object can be measured by ratio scale by fixing the starting point at 0. Okay, so that says that is called the ratio scale. So in this say these are the 4 primary levels of measurement scale, and while you are designing the survey instrument, and in social science the survey instrument is nothing but the questionnaire. Whenever you are designing the questionnaire, in few sections of the questionnaire, you have to use some Likert scale format. In other section of questionnaire, you have to use the ordinal scale format by ranking score option, by giving ranking score option. In another section of the questionnaire, you have to give some nominal scale format of question. And in another section, you may ask some question which will be in ratio scale format. So 4 different types of format depending upon our requirement we are using in our survey instrument. Okay. And data analysis tools and techniques are also designed based upon what type of measurement scale you have used. Whether the variable is measured by nominal scale. If it is measured by nominal scale, then this type of tool should be used. If it is measured by ordinal scale or interval scale or ratio scale, then depending upon the kind of measurement scale you have used for collection of data or for measurement of variable, then different type of data analysis tools should be chosen. Okay. Now, this is just the overall idea about your survey estimate, but how to test the reliability and validity of the survey estimate. All of you might be knowing there is a term called the Cronbach alpha. Cronbach alpha score is the technical way of measuring the reliability of your data which you have collected out of your questionnaire survey in pilot survey. Okay. Suppose you have collected data, suppose your target sample size is 200, but for pre-testing purpose of your questionnaire to test the reliability, you have collected data on trial basis in pilot survey, 40 respondents data, 50 respondents data. Then you have to run Cronbach alpha, and if the Cronbach alpha score is minimum 80%, sometimes we are also considering 70% is the standard, but most of the cases nowadays it is being improved from 70% to 80%. If the reliability score, Cronbach alpha score is minimum 80% or 0.8, 0.8 means 80%, then you can conclude that yes, our questionnaire items or the research items what for we have collected the data on the basis of that items we have collected data. So definitely our questionnaire is highly reliable. But till now we are not sure whether these are valid or not. Only reliable. Okay. But what is the logic behind this Cronbach alpha? Just 15 days before, I had attended one Ph.D. viva, final Ph.D. viva, and the external examiner had asked, what is the logic of this Cronbach alpha score? Most of the people, they don't know the logic of Cronbach alpha score. Only they have the knowledge. If it is more than 80%, it is acceptable, otherwise it is rejected. Okay. But what is the inherent logic behind this Cronbach alpha? Cronbach alpha is a formula derived by Cronbach, the great statistician, based upon the concept of split half technology, and based upon your correlation. Simple example I may give. Suppose you take one book and that book contains 100 number of pages. Then that 100 number of pages, you make it two equal halves. In the left hand side of the book, 50 number of pages. In the right hand side of the book, another 50 number of pages. Okay. Then all the 50 number of pages in left hand side may contain some data. Then all the pages of 50 pages in right hand side may contain the data. Then run the correlation between these two halves. First 50 pages data and second 50 pages data, run the correlation, and you will get some correlation coefficient value. So that you note down in another rough book. Then what you will do? One data you delete from first half of the book and add to the second half, and another page from second half you delete from second half and add to the first half. That means number should be maintained 50-50. Only you have to reshuffle in different iteration. Okay, just like in playing cards, you are shuffling and you are distributing. So in that, in the same sense, suppose you will reshuffle one by one in different iteration, again around the correlation. Then suppose if 50 times if you will reshuffle, then 50 scores of correlation you will get. Then find out the average correlation of this 50 individual correlation coefficient. That average correlation value is called the Cronbach alpha score. That means Cronbach alpha score formula is on the basis of the logic of correlation value of all the research item score in different iteration, and if the correlation value, intercorrelation value, intracorrelation value is around 80%, that means all the scores are almost same. If all the scores are almost same, then definitely a higher level of correlation you will get. So if all the scores are almost same, that means consistency exists, internal consistency exists. So that's say in that case, generally most of the researchers, they have recommended if that internal consistency correlation value will be minimum 70%, and nowadays it is 80%, then only you can accept your research items are highly correlated in terms of response correlation. Okay, so that's say internal consistency exists in between in the research item. So that's it is reliable. Okay. Another term called as composite reliability. Composite reliability means suppose one latent variable contains 10 number of research items. Okay, or one construct contains 10 number of research items. Then you run factor analysis. You might be doing factor analysis is just for multivariate analysis purpose to compress the similar kind of variables to create one group variable, and that group variable is the master variable or construct or component or factor. Okay, so that group variable or factor variable is called the latent variable. Okay, and accordingly you have to give the name based upon the similarity of the respondents. Okay, the similarity of the individual member variables. Okay, so that's whenever we are applying factor analysis, then definitely each of the research item is having some factor loading to the extracted dimension, to the extracted factor. Okay, suppose for example, I am giving some items like your blackboard, chalk, pens, LCD projector, marker, whiteboard, SC, then a book, chalk, duster. If all these things I will ask to you, then certainly the respondents may visualize, probably sir is talking about a classroom. How they suddenly visualized I am talking about a classroom? Because whenever they will correlate all the individual items, they will combine all the individual items, they are giving one direction towards one dimension, that is classroom dimension. But I never use the word classroom in my questionnaire. I use the word only chalk, duster, blackboard, LCD projector, the individual items only. Since there exists some logical similarity among all these items, so suddenly the dimension can be automatically extracted in our mindset, that is classroom. And that is the beauty of factor analysis, because this is the common example I gave. That say all of you might you may extract the concept of classroom. But in our survey instrument, whenever you are making study of perception of customer or attitude of the employees, all these things, so that say we don't have any idea whether these type of items are similar to each other or that type of items are similar to each other. So based upon the perception of customer, based upon the attitude of the employees, which items are similar, that is their lookout. Let them ask, let me ask the question, let them give the response, then run factor analysis, then all the score which are similar type of variables, that will be combined together to create one factor. Through exploratory factor analysis, we have explored that factor. Then only we can conclude that yes, this factor is the real factor on the basis of a logical factor on the basis of customer's perception or employee's attitude. Okay. But whenever you are extracting a factor, then definitely each of the item has some linkage with that factor, has some relationship with that factor. Chalk has some linkage with the classroom. Duster has some linkage with the classroom. LCD projector has some linkage with the classroom. If it is not linked with the classroom, then that is the odd member of that group. That should be deleted. That should not be considered under that factor. Okay. So that's here. How far chalk is related to classroom? For me, chalk is related to classroom, suppose 90%. Since I'm not using LCD projector, I'm not using PowerPoint slide. For me, LCD availability of LCD projector, similarity of between LCD projector availability with the classroom may be 20%. For other person, it may be 90%. So in this way, the similarity is called in the form of 20%, 90%, 70%, 50%. All these are the similarity. These are the correlation between the factor extracted and the respective items. And there is a name, particular name for this, that is called the factor loadings. And the symbol of factor loading is lambda. Lambda, just like in physics you are measuring wavelength. Okay. Or just it looks like somehow the symbol of chi-square. Okay, so this is it is not chi-square symbol exactly, but lambda looks like in that way. Okay, so lambda is called as a factor loadings. Lambda represents the factor loadings or similarity between individual research items with the concerned factor. Okay, now one item will be a valid item under that factor if the lambda score is minimum 50%. That means at least 50% factor loading should be there between this research item and the extracted construct. Then suppose one construct is having 10 items. You take the squared value of all the individual factor loadings and add all the squared value of individual factor loadings. Then divide with the measurement error added with the squared value of factor loadings. Then that is another formula to be used for validity test. Okay, and that is called the average variance extracted, AVE. AVE is nothing but it is a ratio, and in that ratio the numerator tells about the squared value, sum total of squared value of factor loadings divided by the same term whatever you have used in numerator added with the squared value of error variance, measurement error variance. And if AVE, average variance extracted, will be minimum 50%, then only you can say yes, these items are valid items. Okay, and this is the trick of for testing the construct validity of a questionnaire. That means if you are thinking that you have asked some research items under one construct, hypothetical construct, and whether the questionnaire items are really the valid items under that construct or not, in order to test that construct validity, you have to run CFA, confirmatory factor analysis, CFA. Okay, and that confirmatory factor analysis can be run through AMO software package. Okay, and by using that software package, you run the confirmatory factor analysis. Automatically, it will give the outcome of average variance extracted. Okay, and another type of validity is called the discriminant validity. Discriminant validity is just opposite form of the construct validity. Construct validity tells about how far the research items are similar to each other to give one dimension. But discriminant validity tells about how far two constructs, not two items, two separate constructs are completely different from each other. Okay. Suppose in academics, classroom is one of the constructs. In academics, placement is also another construct. In academics, course fee is another construct. Then under each construct, separate variables. Under classroom, chalk, duster, all these things. Under placement, suppose mock interview, group discussion, written test, these are the items. Under course fee, suppose your tuition fee, development fee, library fee, all these things. So each of the construct may carry different items. So individual construct we have tested based upon average variance extracted, we have tested the construct validity. So construct wise, these three constructs are valid constructs, and item wise, these are the valid items under each construct. But whether these three constructs are totally different from each other or not, if there is a overlapping between two constructs, then definitely there should not be a separate treatment for two constructs. Rather, you have to merge these two constructs to one. So appropriate amount of discriminative validity must exist. Okay, and how will test the discriminative validity? That means you have to, if you run the software, you will get another value that is called multiple correlation. Okay, that means if the multiple correlation among these separate constructs will be lower than the individual variance explained. Okay, then definitely that means if average variance extracted is higher than the multiple correlation among the construct, then you can conclude yes, there exists some discriminant validity. Okay. So not only you have to test the validity construct wise, but also you have to test the discriminator validity also. That means construct to construct sufficient difference must be there, and within one construct sufficient similarity must be there. That means intra-correlation must be higher, but inter-correlation must be lower. Okay. So that says that is one type of validity test you have to make. Another type of validity test you have to make called as your content validity. Face validity. Okay, content validity, there is no statistics. In case of content validity, by applying your own judgment, by applying your own intuition, or by showing your questionnaire to experts, take the suggestion of experts for modification purpose. You have to modify the questionnaire because your content of the questionnaire is mismatching with the objective of your research. If it will mismatch with the achievement of objective of your research, then content wise your questionnaire is wrong. Okay, so that's your questionnaire content should be validated by taking the opinion of experts, by taking the opinion of all of other guides, those who are expert and those who are having expertise in that field of research. or by of your own, you can test the content validity by implementing that questionnaire or by administering that questionnaire in a small tutorial group, in small student group, and take the suggestion of that tutorial group or student group and implement that suggestion to improve the content validity. Okay, so this is all about your instrument design and how to evaluate the instruments so far as your reliability and validity concerned. Now let's have a break of 5 minutes and ask some
Yes,
questions.
yes, sir. We'll have a break for 5 minutes. Within that, there are a few questions from the participants. So after that, again, we'll start, sir.
Okay.
Sir, the first question asked by Firoz Ali, sir. How many participants or subjects shall be good for the reliability and validity of data?
How many participants should be considered for testing reliability and validity of data?
Yes, sir.
Generally, it should be minimum 15% of the target sample size, 15 to 20%.
Sir, okay, sir.
So, suppose your target sample size, just a minute, 1 minute.
Sir, sir.
Hello.
Sir.
Actually, in online meeting or online FDP, there will be no digital T. So, yes.
Thank you so much, sir. You are talking non-stoply. That's why I interfere and take the break for 5 minutes.
Yes, sir. This is my style of teaching.
Sir.
Because I never use this slide. Because if I will use slide, people will be attentive or concentration will be only on slide.
Sir.
Okay.
So, it's a beautiful deliberation, sir. You are relating to the real life examples. That's the beauty, sir.
Okay, so the question was related to what should be the number of participants in pilot survey for testing reliability and validity. So generally, few of the articles I have gone through, most of the researchers, they are recommending it should be 15 to 20% of total target sample size. Suppose the target sample size is 200, so it should be minimum 40. Okay.
Okay, sir. Sir, another question asked by Dr. Ketana from Manipur. Sir, which validity test should be used for studying the employee satisfaction towards career development program?
Which test? Again, repeat.
Which validity test should be used for studying employee satisfaction towards career development program?
See, whatever may be the topic, it may be employee satisfaction, it may be job satisfaction, it may be psychological contract, it may be high performing work system, whatever may be the topic. Validity reliability test being done of questionnaire based upon the research item, number of research item you have used and what type of scale you have used, measurement scale you have used. And for employee satisfaction, obviously you have to use interval scale of Likert scale of different dimensions. So this validity and reliability test, whatever I have discussed, same thing can be applied for this also. You can also apply Cronbach alpha for reliability and this factor loading approach or average variance extracted and discriminated validity trick through AMOS for the validity test also.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Sir, another question from Mamta Sharma. In order to check the validity, is it required to go through all the validity tests or we can go for some of these only?
No, one validity test you have to do related to qualitative research like your content validity or face validity, and through data filtration work also almost you have validated, but after that also you have to validate the questionnaire by content validity. Content validity is must. You have to check the question by showing the questionnaire to experts or by taking suggestion of experts or by taking some recommendation of the original scale developers, because you have not developed the scale. If you have not the developed scale, you have borrowed some scale item from the pre-tested questionnaire, already tested questionnaire. So that's a, you have to ask through email to that original developer of that scale that I have modified your instrument after taking your permission. So whether it will be valid to add this in my contest or not. So take their suggestion to achieve the content validity. That is must. And another quantitative way of validity test, like any type of AB approach or composite reliability approach or convex alpha approach for reliability and discriminant validity, that has to be supported, that has to be augmented. Both are required.
Okay, sir. Sir, another question asked from Gayatri Padi, she is a scholar from Berhampur University. In principal component PCA, whether it is okay to check the validity after the final interaction derived, or it should be always in the beginning?
Validity test should be always in the beginning, because you are testing the reliability and validity to conclude whether your survey instrument is suitable or not. So after collection of original data, again validity and reliability test, there is no requirement. Validity and reliability test always are being done for measurement scale purpose before implementing or before full-fledged administering your questionnaire. After, because I agree, most of the scholars they are doing, first they are collecting their 400 data, then they are running validity test, reliability test for entire 400. That is not the appropriate way of test of validity and reliability. You test the validity and reliability in pilot survey data, not for entire original data. Because if your questionnaire will be invalid, then original data there is no meaning, because most of the data will be erratic. So validity reliability test should be done in pilot survey, not after full-fledged administration of questionnaire.
Okay, sir. Sir, Somyashri Mahanti asked, sir, as we are discussing tools and devices, can research have qualitative or quantitative approach or both? If you explain with example, which one or both we should take up for overall success?
This is the year 2020. Samyasri madam, this is probably you are the student, PG student.
PG students.
Yeah. So this is the age of 2020. So both is definitely mandatory. Only quantitative research or only qualitative research are not sufficient. It should be mixed approach. Yesterday I have already told the research design should be mixed research design. It should be both quantitative as well as qualitative. Suppose first you have adopted quantitative analysis approach for drawing some conclusion, but that should be logical in the theoretical point of view, in expert's opinion point of view. So if that is not logical, statistics is just one type of quantitative technique, and statistics are always approximate way of achieving the result. It is not the exact way of achieving the result. It is always, the model is always approximate model, inexact model. It is not exact model. So that's whenever you are applying some quantitative techniques, error will be there. So whether that error is within our accepted zone or not, that has to be verified by collecting some logical view or opinion, or by adopting some grounded theory approach, by asking some experts, or by making some focus group interview. So it should be both qualitative as well as quantitative. If you are asked, suppose you have done qualitative research, then in order to support the views of experts, you collect some data and apply some statistics. First, if you have applied some data analysis, statistical analysis, then the conclusion, whatever you have done, it should be supported by expert opinion. So both should be there.
Thank you, sir. Sir, another question asked by Sri Vidya ma'am. Should we run a pilot test to know the reliability and validity of the questionnaire prepared by us?
Of course, the same thing I am repeating continuously. You have to conduct pilot survey for reliability and validity. Pilot survey you are making not for any other purpose. You are making pilot survey only for validity and reliability analysis for your questionnaire. That's all.
Sir.
Questionnaire or for your database.
Sir, thank you, sir. Sir, one question asked by Tushar sir. What precautions must be taken while using psychometric or sociometric scales or tools without violating the patent for it?
What techniques?
What precautions must be taken using psychometric or sociometric scale or tools?
See, some type of ethical code of conduct you have to maintain, definitely, because you have to take permission whenever whatever psychometric or sociometric scale you are using. You have to take permission for using that instrument first of all, and you have to also take permission of the industry if you are making any survey among the employees of one industries. So that is the first part. Without taking permission, without any because it is a copyright instrument, so definitely you have to take permission, official permission. Through email they are also giving permission. And second precautionary measure you have to take while you are conducting survey, then definitely you try to keep the mind how the respondents will not be irritated, how the respondents should be in original jolly mood. Because if the respondents are in hurry mood, or respondents are in irritating mood, or respondents are having some work and just in between that you met him and within 10 minutes you are asking to fill up the questionnaire. So that is not the way of data collection. Give some time, maybe data collection duration will be from 6 months to 7 months, but at least valid data will come. So if within 1 month it will collect data, just like in Google Chrome, every day 5 to 6 mails are coming to my email in Google Chrome survey. But I am not going through any questionnaire, I am not filling because I have no time. Because in less time, people are requesting by making telephone calls, sir, how much time will take? Hardly 5 minutes. I am saying, why 5 minutes? I have to go through the questionnaire, I have to internalize, minimum 1 day I have to take to fill up a questionnaire. Sure. So if within 5 minutes I have to give the data, there is no meaning of doing research work. That's it. That type of precautionary measure is more important than any other precautionary statistical measure. First of all, give more importance to the mindset of the respondents. If the mindset of respondents is acceptable, then it is the perfect time for collection of data.
Thank you, sir. Sir, another question asked by Tusa, sir. Can patent be developed for scales in social science research? Suggest measures to create patent in scale development.
Patent in social science is very rare. Suppose in scale, whatever scale you have developed, getting patent in social science is very difficult. But patent for one physical instrument or physical product or physical composition or physical formula, your mathematical formula, that will be easier, and that is applicable for only natural science subject or pure science subject. But yes, some scale maybe you cannot tell it is patented, rather you can get copyright. You can get copyright for your scale, whatever you have developed. And the scale which you have developed, if it is acceptable in generalized manner, and if it carries appropriate score of reliability and validity, and if it is working perfectly in different contexts, in different situations, in different industry, then you can file for copyright. But patent is very difficult to get in that case.
Thank you, sir. Sir, Priya Chaudhary ma'am asked, in case of educational institution, which instrument should be used?
Educational institution means, sir, I could not get the question. Again, you repeat.
In case of educational institution, which instrument should be used?
That means his theme of research is educational institution.
Sir, I think.
If your theme is in relation to educational institution, that is the service industry.
Sure.
Okay. So in case of service industry, the same questionnaire you may use whatever. Suppose you are using circle scale for service quality. So just you have to change the wordings of different items of circle scale, and you can use for educational institution. In Shiksha Anusandhan deemed to be university, 2 years back, one student was doing, one PhD scholar was doing PhD in this topic for educational institution in engineering institute. Although I was not his direct guide, but indirectly I had given some guidance. Her name is Amrita Mahanti. If you go to South Ganga, probably her thesis will be uploaded by this time. You can go through the Amrita Mahanti thesis, you can get some idea about this.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, one question asked by Soumyashri Mahanti, ma'am. Sir, how to identify we are on right track or done a good research survey design? Any features or criteria to conclude experiments like impact of COVID-19 to work from home or going digital or virtual online classes? Like,
see, right now this problem worldwide, this is the problem, the COVID-19 situation. So definitely it is quite practical to tell that during this situation, nothing is perfect. Although technologically we are advanced, and suppose for example right now in online mode we are teaching, but do you think this is the appropriate mode in comparison to face to face? If I would have given this lecture in face to face, probably more interaction would be there, and the formula whatever I am just saying in online mode, that formula I would have been written on the blackboard, so that impact will be more in comparison to this online digital mode. So during this phase, no doubt you will have some theoretical background, you will have some knowledge, you will have some acquaintance with the different dimensions of your research team. You will go through different type of literature, different type of articles, and taking guidance online is definitely not better than taking guidance physically. Okay, so that's a here, Madam Sammasri. I am very sorry to say that I pray Lord Jagannath how there will be a end of this COVID-19 as soon as possible.
Thank you, sir. Sir, another question asked by Tushar, sir. Is it wise decision to include a mix of 3 points and 5-point scale questions? But then why do we reduce the number of yes or no questions and avoid descriptive questions in construction of questionnaires?
See, mixture of 3-point Likert scale and 5-point Likert scale, according to my point of view, it is not allowed. But most of the supervisors in law or engineering school, they are also allowing. But in my point of view, it should be avoided. So 3-point Likert scale has no meaning. Already I have told, more and more point Likert scale if you use, it will be more continuous, and in real sense it will be called as the interval scale. Otherwise, 3-point Likert scale can never be called as the interval scale, it is rather ordinal scale. And if you mix up one ordinal scale of person with 5-point Likert scale, that is the interval scale of person, then data analysis will be difficult. Okay, if separate treatment you are giving for 3-point treatment, for 5-point another treatment, that may be acceptable. But if you combine all these 3-point, 5-point and common technique, if you apply, that will be erratic. Okay, so that's in my point of view, not to include 3-point in 5-point. If you are using 5-point, let it be 5-point. All the scales are 5-point. If you are using 3-point Likert scale, that is not 3-point Likert scale. You don't use. Rather, you use some nominal scale or ordinal scale version by giving some options. Some options, not in agreement or disagreement type, but some options, some multiple choice options. So that will be treated separately. Some non-parametric method of hypothesis test may be used for this. Okay. But for my point of view, in this age, most of the techniques of data analysis are multivariate analysis, and most of the multivariate analysis techniques require some continuous type of scale of measurement, that to interval scale and ratio scale. So better to avoid 3-point Likert scale. Better you use 5-point or 9-point or 7-point Likert scale. In PhD or MPhil scholar, always I recommend 7-point Likert scale.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Rest of the questions we'll discuss at the end of the session, sir. We can start.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome back. In fact, we are having very less time. Even I have some work also. I have to give some mail to my Vice Chancellor.
Sir.
Anyway, so in the past half of my session, we have discussed some aspects of measurement scale and questionnaire design, and again how to evaluate the measurement scale in terms of reliability and validity. Okay. Now let's discuss some brief idea, because it is not possible to discuss all type of things in online mode as well as with less time. Let's discuss. Let's have some brief idea about the data analysis. Okay, and whenever in social science research we are talking about data analysis, generally we are making 2 types of data analysis. One is your descriptive data analysis, another one is your inferential data analysis. Okay, in descriptive data analysis, what you are doing, only you are describing the existing phenomenon of database. That means what is the pattern of data, what is the central tendency of data by calculating mean, median, mode, whatever, and what is the graphical representation of data by making some pie chart, bar chart, whatever. Okay, and the most important thing of descriptive analysis is how far the data are dispersed from its mean value or median value, and that dispersion measurement generally we are using standard deviation. Okay, so standard deviation or squared value of standard deviation or variance analysis we are making. So that's it. Whether the data pattern are almost of less dispersion or of high dispersion, to study that part we are making some descriptive analysis. We are not making any conclusion. We are not drawing any inference out of this analysis. That's a, it is not inferential data analysis. We are not testing any hypothesis in descriptive data analysis. Only we are making pattern analysis of data, because it will make some descriptive data analysis of a database. No doubt some of the outliers may be automatically deleted and it will be removed from your final analysis. Some of the irrelevant variables may be removed, so that it will be more appropriate to conclude the conclusion to represent the reality of your data analysis outcomes. Okay, so that's here. In that case, in descriptive data analysis, no doubt you are making the test like your normality tests and the skewness and ketosis analysis. Skewness and ketosis analysis you are making for your spreadness of your data pattern. If you are making skewness analysis, if it is highly skewed, then definitely it is not a suitable database for applying some parametric test of hypothesis, because the most important condition for applying parametric test of hypothesis, the data pattern should be normal distribution type of data pattern. Okay, so that's in normality test it will fail, then definitely you have to think about the alternative techniques of data analysis of hypothesis testing. And most of the cases in normality, if you are failing, then we are revisiting the database and we are deleting and you are standardizing few of the database. Then again we are making the non-normal data to normal data, we are converting. Then we are applying some final inferential data analysis on this. So in case of normality test, so many options are available, either by skewness, simple by skewness and ketosis, you can find out whether the data is normal or not. Normality might be knowing what is the normal data. The database is said to be normal if the mean is equal to median and mode equal to mode, and if it will be bell-shaped curve and it is highly symmetric in nature. It will draw the histogram out of the database. The look of the histogram should be in bell-shaped curve. Okay, and it is highly symmetrical. It is not more bulky towards left or not more bulky towards right. If it is bulky towards one side of the middlemost position, then that is highly skewed data. So you have to avoid that skewness. Okay, skewness should be near to 0, and ketosis means is your pickedness of the data. If it is highly picked around the mean value or middlemost value, that means the spreadness is very less. Okay, that means almost same data you have collected, so repetition will be more. So definitely that is also not allowed. So in case of ketosis, it should be in between 0 to 3. Okay, so that's here there are some standard points. That means if it is below to this, then it is acceptable. If it is above to that is not acceptable. So by making analysis of skewness and ketosis, you can also arrive at the conclusion whether your data is normal or not. Okay. Another option is called your Wilk-Shapiro analysis. That is also another type of Wilk-Shapiro is one have given one formula. Based upon that formula, you can also conclude whether the data is normal or not. And another is your case analysis, conglomerate cleanup analysis. By applying those type of analysis, you can also conclude whether the data is normal or not. Or by using the formula of your Jarko-Bera JP test. Okay, so Jarko-Bera test also, sometimes JP tests are also implemented in case of econometrics. Okay, so that JP test you can also implement to test the normality of the data, because in econometrics, the first condition of applying any type of predefined econometric model, the normality. Okay, so if the data is not normal, then definitely whatever data analysis tool you may use, it will give some outcome, no doubt, but the outcome will be invalid outcome. Okay, it does not represent the real picture. Okay, so that's all these type of things you have to do in descriptive data analysis to know the data pattern. Okay, so in your thesis, if you are doing PhD, in your thesis or MPhil thesis or dissertation report of PG, your data analysis chapter should be subdivided into 2 categories. First division of data analysis should be 3 categories in fact. First division of data analysis should be descriptive data analysis. Second subdivision of data analysis should be inferential data analysis, where all types of hypothesis tests will be conducted. And third division of data analysis should be model building and model modification. Okay, so all the model related work should be done in the last part of our data analysis, and in the second part of our data analysis, all type of inferences, all type of individual hypothesis testing type of thing you have to do. And in the first part of your data analysis, you have to conduct all type of descriptive data analysis to describe the existing pattern of your data, whether it is normal or not normal, whether it is highly skewed or less skewed, whether it is highly dispersed or less dispersed, whether the mean, median, mode are almost same or not. So these are the things to be discussed in case of descriptive analysis with some graphical diagram and some statistical outcomes of descriptive statistics. So this is just the overall idea about the descriptive statistics. Now come to the inferential statistics. In case of inferential statistics in social science, mostly we are conducting hypothesis tests. And in hypothesis test, there are two types of tests we are conducting. One is your non-parametric test of hypothesis, and another one is your parametric test of hypothesis. In case of your non-parametric test of hypothesis, suppose in descriptive statistics, you at any cost you never achieve the normality. So definitely you have to accept the reality that the figures, whatever response you have collected, that is not normal. That is not normal. So if it is not normal, then definitely you are not bound to apply a parametric test of hypothesis. Otherwise, it will be erratic. The outcome will have invalid interpretation. So you have to apply some non-parametric mode of hypothesis, and non-parametric mode of hypothesis, different techniques are also there, like your, in fact, chi-square test is one type of non-parametric test. Chi-square test purpose is to know the existence of association between two categorical variables. Suppose one categorical variable is income, having three categories: high income group, middle income group, low income group. Another categorical variable is suppose employee performance. And suppose there are three categories of employee performance you have collected: high performer, medium performer, and low performer. My hypothesis tells that there is a strong association between income categories and performance categories. So in order to test this type of hypothesis, because this type of hypothesis are being run between two categorical variables. Okay, categorical variable means both of the variables are measured by nominal scale. 1, 2, 3. 1 stands for high, 2 stands for medium, 3 stands for low. So in that case, if you have achieved the score, non-normal score you have collected, then obviously it is the perfect time to apply, perfect situation to apply chi-square test. Okay, and chi-square test, if you apply, it can give the idea whether these two are highly associated, significantly associated, or insignificantly associated. If it is not significantly associated, then definitely for performance changes, income is not the factor, maybe some another factor is there. So another factor you may run and see whether that factor is important or not. Okay. And non-parametric tests like your Krusal-Wallis test or your Mann-Whitney test, or again another is your Ron test to test the randomness. Okay, or sign test to test the difference between two factors within a pair. So this type of availability of this type of tests are also implemented. You can, depending, because if your purpose is to test significant difference exists between two things within one pair or not, or between three items within one group or not. So if that type of objective you have set, then only you have to choose appropriate technique of non-parametric test to test the hypothesis. But if you found that your data is normal, so definitely because in the first subsection you have conducted the normality test in descriptive analysis, and in second section you are conducting the hypothesis testing approach. If in first subsection you have found that your data is normal, so definitely you have to apply some parametric test of hypothesis. And in parametric test of hypothesis, all of us, as you know, t-test, f-test, ANOVA type of thing, and correlation, regression type of thing. This type of analysis you can run to test the hypothesis in parametric way. Okay, because correlation, regression. Regression analysis is backed with the assumption that all the data are normal. Okay. So what is the difference between correlation and regression, and where to use these two things, correlation and regression? Correlation gives you the degree of relationship between two variables. If it is two variables, that is the case called as a bivariate correlation. If it is more than two variables, that is the case of multiple correlation. Okay. So whatever may be, whether it is bivariate or multiple, but what is correlation? Correlation is the trick of analysis to get the outcome, the degree of relationship between two variables or more than two variables. What is the extent of relationship? Suppose, for example, what is the relationship between me and the coordinator of ASBM FDP? Okay, so that's what is the degree of relationship. So all other participants looking at our interaction, all other participants might be assuming probably the degree of relationship between resource person and coordinator may be 60% or 70%. Okay, but if it will continue, then after 1 month, people may assume, no, the correlation is not 60%, it may be 90%. After 1 year, people may guess, okay, it may be 90%, but what kind of relationship they have? Okay, so that's a regression speaks about the nature of relationship. Correlation gives you strength of relationship or degree of relationship, but regression tells about the nature of relationship. Although there exists a relationship up to 90% between two variables, but if one variable will move in this direction, how other variable will move? It will move in the same direction or in opposite direction, or in parabolic way or in hyperabolic way, or in exponential way or in logarithmic way. Okay, so the nature of relationship can be captured by one mathematical equation, because different forms of mathematical equations are there, or different forms of mathematical models are also there, like your quadratic equation, then the exponential equation, logarithmic equations. So you have to fit the variation of these two variables data in those models, some recommended models, and run regression. If the outcome of regression is best fitted outcome, significant, then that model is the best fitted model to represent the nature of relationship between two variables. So that's here. Whenever you are applying correlation and regression, one of the objectives you are fulfilling, you are making impact analysis. That means what is the impact of one independent variable upon one dependent variable. Yesterday we have discussed cause variable and effect variable. So whether this effect is the original impact of this variable or another variables. So in order to confirm that hypothesis, in order to test that hypothesis, you have to run the regression analysis. And if the regression analysis outcome will be significant out of this correlation and regression, then only you can go ahead for further analysis of multivariate analysis. But the thing is that what is the importance of ANOVA then, analysis of variance? ANOVA also conducts impact analysis, but how it is different from regression? Regression is also doing impact analysis. ANOVA is also analysis of variance, also doing impact analysis. But how these two tricks are different from each other? In case of ANOVA, you are studying the impact of one categorical variable upon another non-categorical variable. That means the dependent variable is measured by interval scale or ratio scale, but the independent variable is measured by nominal scale or ordinal scale. And this thing can also be tested by regression, but ANOVA scope is up to this. If you are going to apply ANOVA, then independent variable has to be measured by nominal scale or ordinal scale, and dependent variable has to be measured by interval scale or ratio scale. Suppose, for example, I want to know the impact of gender on performance or impact of income on performance, but performance score I have measured by Likert scale. Okay, but gender I have measured by nominal scale, male or female. Or income I have measured by nominal scale, high income group, middle income group, lower income group. So if I want to confirm, I want to test my hypothesis, suppose my hypothesis tells there is insignificant effect of income upon performance. That is my hypothesis, and this hypothesis has to be tested, and this hypothesis has to be tested by ANOVA. And why I have tested by ANOVA? Because I have in descriptive analysis already have verified the performance score behaves in a normal way, so normality exists. So that's a ANOVA is the best fitted recommended technique for testing this hypothesis. So that's a I run the ANOVA. I will run the ANOVA, and based upon the outcome of ANOVA, I found the F ratio value of ANOVA is found to be significant, and P level is below 5% or 1%. So that's a P level is below 1% or 5%. Then definitely I will conclude that yes, the impact is significant. Okay. So that's in this way you have to choose the technique based upon the context of your study and based upon the research question you have addressed, based upon the objective you have set, and based upon the data pattern, and based upon the requirement of your analysis. Okay. Unnecessarily don't apply any other technique if that is not required for your analysis. Okay. Then for model building purpose, or mostly for model building purpose, you are conducting some multivariate analysis first. First, you have to conduct some multiple regression analysis, or cluster analysis, factor analysis, conjoint analysis, multi-dimensional scaling analysis. So these are the some data analysis tools coming under your multivariate analysis. Okay. Suppose I want to study the impact of classroom and placement upon student satisfaction. Impact of classroom and placement upon student satisfaction. Classroom is a latent variable, suppose, because directly I have not asked any question about classroom, and placement also directly I have not asked any question to the student about placement. Okay. And student satisfaction also directly I have not measured any student satisfaction. Indirectly I have asked some question. Indirectly means I have asked 10 questions related to classroom, I have asked another 10 questions related to placement, and I have asked another 15 questions related to satisfaction of students. So that's these three variables have become now latent variable or construct or factor. So whether these three factors are a valid factor based upon my asked questions or not, that I have to conduct some validity test through confirmatory factor analysis, as I have told. And I have extracted three factors, confirmed factor. One is your classroom factor, another is your placement factor, and final factor is your satisfaction factor. So individual confirmatory factor analysis I have conducted, and I found these three factors are really reasonable and logical factors. Few items, few measurement items may be deleted, may be removed. So, but after filtration, I concluded that these three latent variables are valid latent variables. Now, what I have to do, I have to run regression to know the impact of classroom as well as your placement upon your student satisfaction. So, first of all, what I have to do, I have to run the regression by taking independent classroom as the independent variable upon student satisfaction. Student satisfaction is the dependent variable. Then another regression I have to run by taking placement as the independent variable and student satisfaction as the independent variable. Okay. Or in one time I have to run regression. If I have to run multiple regression, then at a time two independent variable I may run to know the impact upon student satisfaction. That means placement as well as your classroom. Both of the independent variable I have to run in the regression analysis by considering as the independent variables upon the impact of this upon the student satisfaction. But if you will use structural equation model, that means here if you are not using structural equation model, how many steps you have followed? First, you have followed the confirmatory factor analysis to know the validity. Then individual factor you have extracted, that means you conducted factor analysis. Okay. Then individual regression you have run to know the one independent variable to another dependent variable. Then another multiple regression you have run to know the impact of both of the independent variable upon one dependent variable. That means you have followed around 5 to 6 steps to arrive at the conclusion, that too in separate form. But in structural equation model, that is the beauty of structural equation model, simultaneously it will run factor analysis as well as a regression analysis, that too in a combined form. That means if you will give only original statements, whatever you have asked to the students, the original member variables or original items, and if you run the structural equation model, automatically it will extract the three latent variables, one variable from classroom members, another variable from placement members, another variable from satisfaction members. So automatically it will extract the factors, and automatically it will run the regression to know the impact of on student satisfaction. So if it happens simultaneously at a time, that will be more realistic, that will be more representativeness of real life in comparison to the individual step-by-step analysis separately. Okay. So generally what we are doing, first we are doing some individual analysis step by step to remove some of the invalid factors or to remove some of the invalid items under one factor. Okay. Or to remove some invalid linkage in a regression. Then in individual analysis, whenever we'll we'll be able to identify that these data are not required data, these are the invalid data or invalid variable, you have to remove, or these items are invalid items, you have to remove. So after removal of all the invalid variables or invalid items or invalid linkage, then whenever you will run the structural equation model with the valid linkage, with the valid item or the valid variable, then goodness of fit of overall model will be improved. Okay. So without step-by-step verification, if directly we implement the structural equation model approach, then definitely you may not achieve the appropriate amount of goodness of fit index in structural equation model. Okay. So while you are building the model or you are thinking to formulate the structural equation model, first individual analysis, inferential analysis you have to make. Then you have to combine, you have to filter, you have to modify your approach, you have to remove some of the variables or some of the linkages, then modified version of your conceptual model, because before modification that was your conceptual model, but after modification the conceptual model got modified, then the modified version of conceptual model should be run in structural equation model package like AMOS package. Then the final model, whatever you will get, that will be the most valid model, that is your own contribution, that is your research model, because that is the modified version of previous conceptual model, and that modified version of model is more representative, best representative of the reality in comparison to the original conceptual model. This approach generally the researchers are applying. That means step by step, in every step, in every movement, only removal of outliers, removal of disturbing elements, removal of some disturbing linkage will be done. Then only the final, only valid items, valid linkages, valid equations, and valid dependence independence relationship will be considered for final model building. So this is just overall idea about your data analysis, whatever you have to make. Now I will invite to have some questions. We are having 10 minutes, around 10 minutes. Sir. So let's have some question answer discussion.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, Ma'am Rajni Agrawal asked, sir, please suggest which scale to be used to measure attitude and perception of borrowers and bankers in case of bank loan disbursement.
Attitude perception, definitely you have to use your metric scale of measurement, like either interval scale or ratio scale. For attitude and perception measurement, obviously you have to use some metric scale of measurement, continuous scale of measurement. For this, I will use some multiple choice type of question. Data analysis will be difficult. So for attitude measurement, it may be employee of bank or employee of any manufacturing concern or whatever. So attitude measurement of customer or employees, whatever, attitude and perception, because these are the two psychological attributes. And for measurement of psychological attribute, you have to use some continuous scale of measurement, not non-metric scale of measurement.
Okay, sir. Sir, Soumyasri Mahanti asked, sir, can you explain the type of point scales with their use and examples?
Like your 5-point scale, 7-point scale, 9-point scale, they probably she is asking. So 5-point-less scale means suppose 5 stands for strongly agree, 1 stands for strongly disagree, and 3 is the neutral point, that is neither agree nor disagree, and 2 stands for only disagree, and 4 stands for only agree. That means more higher point you are moving, more positive favorable response you are collecting. More lower point you are collecting, more unfavorable response you are collecting. Okay, but this favorableness option and unfavorableness option will be more if it will be improved from 5 point to 7 point. Okay, and again it will be spreadness will be again more if it will be 7 point from 7 point to 9 point. That means respondents will have more option to give their exact attitude or exact perception in putting tick mark if it is of higher level of point of Likert scale. If it is, suppose you compare 5-point Likert scale to 9-point Likert scale, people will feel more comfortable in giving response in 9-point Likert scale because there will be have more options of favorableness or unfavorableness. Okay, so whether it is related to employee satisfaction or customer satisfaction or customer attitude or employee attitude, but to conduct this psychological type or to collect the psychological response related to psychological attribute, as far as possible, you have to give more number of option in Likert scale, and more number of option of Likert scale you are giving means more points you are adding. So this is my suggestion. That's a most of the MPhil PhD scholar we are recommending either 7-point Likert scale or in worst case, in best case it is 9-point Likert scale. 11-point Likert scale generally the typical research organization they are using. Generally academic research we are using maximum either 7-point or 9-point. 5-point only PG students in dissertation or summer project they are using.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, Muhammad Hassan sir asks, if the Cronbach alpha is less than 50, then what is the solution?
Less than 50 means no way you have to accept. If it is less than 80 but above than 70, then it is acceptable. But less than 50 means there is a huge lack in internal consistency. So solution means there is only one solution. You have to revisit the database and you have to remove some of the outliers. After removal of outliers, again you run Cronbach alpha. It may be improved from 50 to 60%. Again you revisit and again you remove the outliers. And if after in the removal process you may tell, sir, almost all the data are being removed out of my total database, then definitely you have to collect more data. Suppose your target sample size is 200 and you have collected 400 data, and during your to achieve your Cronbach alpha score above 70%, and you have removed around 300 records, only 100 record remain. So again you recollect data another 400 because there is no other option. Okay.
Sir, one question asked by Priya Chaudhary ma'am. Sir, can you please explain which measurement scale should be used for employer branding in educational institutions?
Employer branding for educational institution.
Sir, which scale?
Yeah, which scale means definitely your some recommended instruments are also there in. People will download some of the brand value questionnaires or brand equity questionnaire. Probably I remember for brand personality there is a popular questionnaire given by Ecker scale. AEKER probably the name. And brand personality, if you search in Google search, so many ready-made well defined well accepted brand personality scales are there, and brand value brand equity questionnaires are there. You revisit the items of those scales, ready-made scales, and you pick up few of the relevant items from those scales and you use in your scale. And before using the data before applying data analysis, you pre-test your questionnaire, modified questionnaire, make some analysis of validity test. If it is okay, then you go ahead. So which scale you have to use for brand employer branding? There is no such particular recommended scale. So many, several type of recommended scales are available. It only you have to go through their scale items, and in your present context, in your employee setup, organizational setup, in your organizational cultural setup, you internalize which item is best fitted for your context. So there is no such formula or rule of thumb that for this scale, for that another scale. So many several. Suppose for measurement of service quality, I'm not saying only sub-qual instrument. So many other instruments are also there. It depends upon, you have to borrow the items from different recommended scale, and you check whether these borrowed items are best fitted items in your present context or not. So that is the process.
Sir, thank you, sir. Sir, one question asked by Dr. Pallavi Moon. Sir, is it always required to go for VIF to check the multicollinearity while applying multiple regression tests?
Obviously, because in the SPSS software that option is available while you are running regression, and test of multicollinearity is also required because it will capture some of the statistical error you are making. Because if there is a strong correlation among the independent variables, then adjusted R-square value will be more, and which has no meaning. So if the variance explained by the independent variable or dependent variable is erratic because of existence of high level of multicollinearity, then there is no meaning to have that type of statistical outcome. So better you have to conduct VIF to check the multicollinearity in regression.
Thank you, sir. Sir,
Sir, I have one question. Sir,
Yes.
how to calculate by MCMC method to parameter estimation by using given data? Sir, give any idea from where I can actually this from parameter estimation, or give any other process to give the parameter estimation? To idea about
parameter estimation about what?
Parameter estimation of a given data by population data, or given data about infection or any other type of data.
Yes. You are Divyendu Vishwas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. See, this first of all, before estimating any parameter out of the given population or given sample, whatever, first of all, you have to be clear whether these parameters are logical parameters or not. If that parameters are illogical parameters, then definitely estimating that parameter will be erratic. And how to study whether these parameters are logical parameters? Whether these parameters are logical or illogical, that can be verified with huge literature review only. People review the literature, what other researchers have taken, whether that parameters, whatever they have taken, and find their findings are giving success in their result or not. If they are giving success, then that may be one of the logical parameter. It may be invalid parameter in your case after testing in your case. But before testing, that is logical. That means in qualitative research, in grounded theory approach, you have taken those parameters are logical parameters. And if you found that these parameters are logical, what is the meaning of parameter? Parameter is any characteristics of population, not of sample. Characteristic of sample is called a statistic, but characteristics of population is a parameter. So what others have told to characterize the entire population, that is your parameter, and those names of those parameters can be extracted from your grounded theory approach or from huge literature review or through expert opinion. And if you think that sounds very logical in the context of your study, then only you can apply some data. You can think about some data analysis tool to estimate those parameters. And for parameter estimation, so many data analysis tools already have told in case of a parametric test of hypothesis. Either you can apply t-test or ANOVA or regression or correlation or any kind of multivariate analysis techniques for parametric estimation you can also use. But before finalizing your technique, first of all, you have to be sure the background support, theoretical support is valid or not. If the theoretical support is invalid, then those parameters should be avoided out of your own study.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, Firoz Ali sir asks, what is the benchmark for Cronbach alpha for individual questions to be accepted or rejected after the pilot study?
For individual item, the Cronbach alpha cannot be run. It should be minimum 2 to 3 items combinedly, because your Cronbach alpha formula is based upon correlation, and correlation analysis requires minimum 2 variables. Okay, so that's why Cronbach alpha score cannot be extracted out of individual item. It should be a group of item, and a group of item means minimum 2 items. Okay, so that's why Cronbach alpha score should be minimum 80% for a group of items.
Thank you, sir. Sir, Srividya ma'am again asking, please explain a little more about standard deviation. She wants to know.
Standard deviation is purely very common thing. if you will go through any fundamental book of statistics by Levin Rubin, Statistics for Management by Levin Rubin, very clearly it has mentioned the concept of mean and standard deviation. Standard deviation is nothing but the amount of dispersion. This is the measure of dispersion. So how far all the data are deviated from its mean data. Okay. And there is a formula square root of x minus x bar whole square divided by n. If it is some population standard deviation divided by n, if it is sample standard deviation, it is small n minus 1. So that's that formula you are using. But the concept of standard deviation, how far all the real data of individual record or individual exponents are overall deviated from its mean value. So average amount of deviation is called the standard deviation from its mean. So if the standard deviation will be more, then definitely your data are highly dispersed data, then definitely internal consistency are less if standard deviation value is more. Okay,
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
so this is the idea about standard deviation.
Okay, sir. Sir, Mamta Sharma ma'am asked, sir, can you use different scales to measure different construct under one study?
It would be better to use same type of scale so that uniformity will be maintained and comparison will be logical. If different type of scale, if you will use for different type of construct and all the construct will be the part of single model, no doubt it is possible. I am not saying it is impossible, but comparison will be difficult whenever you are comparing one model with another model, and uniformity will not be maintained. So it will be better to use same type of scale for one model, another type of scale for another model. Maintenance of uniformity should be maintained.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, Gayatri Padhi ma'am asked, sir, whether it is possible to do factor analysis if the data is non-normal, or it should be converted to normal data and then proceed?
See, theory says for non-normal data, factor analysis should not be applied. Factor analysis is a kind of multivariate technique which is backed with the assumption that all the data are normal. Okay. And if you are getting non-normal data, try to improve, try to convert the non-normal data to normal data. And after getting normal data, you run to factor analysis. But at any cost, if you are not finding any normality of the database, then forget about factor analysis, think about any other type of non-parametric tests.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, Sri Vidya ma'am asks, sir, can you have a sheet to keep it handy with regards to the tools of analysis, parametric or non-parametric test, and the level of significance to accept or reject the hypothesis?
The first sentence, what you do?
Sir, can you have a sheet to keep it handy with regards to, means he is asking about parametric, non-parametric, and the level of significance. The ready-made sheet he is asking.
See, yes, you can download that type of material from Google search. Probably I had one that type of common formula sheet. Okay, probably I will send to you to your email IP. I will find that. But no doubt it is available in Google search. Where to apply parametric test, where to apply non-parametric test, which test purpose is what. The entire master table is also available in Google search if you search. Okay, and level of significance in social science always 5%. If it will be 1%, that will be better. But level of significance generally by default we are accepting 5%.
Sir,
Yeah.
Sir, Tushar sir asked, can you suggest some scales to measure risk perception, risk attitudes, and self-actualization of investors?
For risk perception, risk aptitude, and self-actualization, in behavioral finance, lots of ready-made instruments are available. Lots of instruments are available. Even I am doing research on this topic right now. So lots of instruments are available, and most of them are using 5-point Likert scale. Most of them, they are using 5-point Likert scale.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, Amy Paul asked one question. What are the chances stratified data produce errors in final result?
Chances of
Stratified data produce errors in final results.
stratified data means sampling. Stratified sampling. Through stratified sampling method, he has collected data. So that data, what is the chance of error? Probably he is asking. So chance of error does not depend what type of method of sampling you have used. Chance of error is due to the kind of response you have collected out of the respondents. Okay. So if you are using some irrelevant sampling method, then the respondents are not logical to be the part of your analysis. But the error in the data is because of the response they are giving, not the respondents. What kind of response they are giving, depending upon the validity and reliability of response, the chance of error will be estimated. But if initially if you are wrongly choose the respondent, that is the initial error, beginning error you have made. Okay, at the beginning, wrong method of sampling you have chosen. That's a already I have told in the beginning of today's session. Whether the respondent can answer your question or not. If you have chosen the wrong respondent, then that is the defect degrowth sampling, wrong sampling method. Okay, so first you choose in the first step the appropriate method of sampling so that the respondent is suitable respondent, appropriate respondent. But although the respondent is appropriate respondent, again there is a chance of getting error in response or in the data itself. Okay, so it is not due to only stratification of sampling, it is because of several reasons, several sources are there for getting error.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, coming to the last question of today's session, Taruna Dubey ma'am asked, sir, can you suggest scale for measuring farmer empowerment through organic farming?
Repeat, again repeat.
Scale measurement for farmer empowerment through organic farming.
Yeah, farmer empowerment, whether it is farmer empowerment or women empowerment or employee empowerment or peasant empowerment. But after all, the master variable is empowerment. Only respondents are units of analysis are different. It may be farmer, it may be peasant. One of my research scholar is doing on peasant empowerment. Okay, or employee empowerment. Even my wife has done Ph.D. in employee empowerment in manufacturing industry. So that's saying here the major focus is on empowerment. Okay, so many scales are available, ready-made scales are available in empowerment with and all the scales are continuous scale type or interval scale type, all the items. Okay, but generally for farmer empowerment, since most of the farmers are uneducated, they lack the knowledge about this, whether strongly agree or disagree or whatever the reason. So physically you have to go to them and physically you have to ask by converting this Likert scale form to their approach in Odia language. You have to ask of your own. Then you may apply some different trick to collect the data, and that data you have to convert or you have to reorient to Likert scale form, because directly you cannot distribute the questionnaire in Likert scale form to farmer because they don't know what is Likert scale, what is strongly disagree. So informally you ask the question, collect some response, then that response you fit in Likert scale form of your own.
Sir, the last one, sir, our participants are asking, can you please suggest some books for SPSS, MOS and ACM practical learning?
Lots of e-books are available. There is no single book. Lots of e-books are available for beginners in SPSS and MOS. And the best book for fundamental of research is your Donald Cooper. Levin-Rubin is for only statistics. That is not for research. That is only for statistics for management to have some preliminary idea about statistics. Sure. But N.K. Malhotra, marketing research by N.K. Malhotra, that is the best book for multivariate analysis. Sure. And for overall concept of research methodology, I must recommend Donald Cooper. Donald Cooper, Business Research Method by Donald Cooper. That is probably of Tata McGraw publisher. Okay. And Sage publisher is probably for N.K. Malhotra or Pearson probably. And for SPSS and for MOS package, any e-books you may download in Google search, which is freely available. Any e-books, there is no particular author is required. Any e-books for beginners you may download. You may write in search engine, you may write SPSS for beginners.
Sure.
Okay, so automatically options will come.
Sir, good afternoon. I have a question. Sorry for the interruption.
No, please.
What is the scale you would adopt for the neurofinance area, sir? Neurofinance.
Again, repeat.
What type of scale would we use in the area of neurofinance?
Neurofinance.
Neurofinance. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
That means embedment of artificial neural network in behavioral finance. ANN type of thing, ANN type of approach or in behavioral finance. Neural finance means almost it is a specific approach of behavioral finance. And in neurofinance, I don't recommend to go for data collection by survey method. In neurofinance, better you have to apply some qualitative research aspect, not the quantitative research aspect. Okay, first you collect the data by, first you have some idea about neurofinance in qualitative research and discuss with the respondents informally, codify that based upon appropriate coding principle, and that coded version will be converted to quantitative approach. So for neurofinance, I should not recommend any type of survey type of questionnaire or whatever. You have to be participate in the survey just by focus group interview method or by qualitative approach method or by grounded theory approach method. Then all the opinion, whatever you have collected, whatever discussion you have made, that you have to codify by applying some appropriate coding principle. Then you apply some quantitative research.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful deliberation on the instrumental tool to data analysis. I hope the entire deliberation will definitely help us participants in their respective research areas and also help them in their future research. On behalf of ASBM family, our sincere gratitude to you, sir, and definitely we want to hear in the future course of time. I also like to thank our participants for their patient learning and active participation and cooperation in the question answer session. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you all the participants. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.